All right, what's up, everybody? This is Nathan again with Clint. He's actually our worship director here at Liquid. So this is our second guest.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I don't know. I don't know who your first guest was, but
doesn't matter. It
I'm
was Eric,
really
though.
honored to be number two.
On the fly. So today I actually got the chance to preach the message, and so we did our series Fixer Upper. I've kind of been talking about that. This is week 3, and so I talked about. I do know this.
What did that guy Nathan preach on?
I know.
Today?
I talked about
It's so
assessing,
good.
inspecting the damage, and then I talked about inspiring people. And something that I kind of was thinking about is we were just talking about this actually, is when the room seems dead. I don't know. Maybe that sounds it sounds derogatory, and it has nothing to do with the people that were there.
Everyone in ministry knows exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
Let's just call that out.
It's true. It's true.
Third service.
Yes. Yeah, he actually did it. Wow.
Oh, snap! They're not going to watch this.
Maybe not. Well, so here's what. Let me define by dead. First off, it doesn't mean that the people there were spiritually dead. It doesn't mean that people. But I think there's times where you preach, and there's rooms of people that are fired up. They're like loud. They're really responding.
It's
Resonating.
more our perception.
Yes.
Of like where they are.
And there's some times you preach where it's like, wow, I'm really pushing through this. They're going through the content. But what happens normally is like I'll preach a message and I'm like, oh wow, it doesn't seem like anyone really connected with it. And then and this is what happened today. Everyone's like, that was a great message. I really connected. God really spoke to me. And a lot of it has to do with, part of it's just one time a day. Sometimes it's a noon service, so people
They're still digesting their burgers.
Exactly. At noon, I'm still tired. And so this has nothing to do with the people there. I want to say that again. But here's the question: when you're preaching and you're in a crowd that's not responding the way you want, how do you push through? And I think one of the things, as I was preaching that one, is to realize, I'm preaching, my focus isn't on the people, but it's on Jesus. And so preaching to Jesus keeps me focused, keeps my eyes focused on where I'm going. And so that's sort of a good reminder.
Yeah.
And 2, just because the congregation may not respond the way I want them to, it doesn't mean that God is not doing something in their heart. And that was true. God was doing some major things in people's lives. And, if I'm honest, there's times where I'm listening to a sermon and I start to doze off, or I'm not really as engaged as I should be. It has nothing to do with the preacher. It probably has to do with the fact that I've eaten too many carbs for lunch, or maybe I'm in a place where, I'm just not. And so when you hit those dead zones, or you feel like are dead zones, how do you press through and to realize that, you have a message, and it's the message preached for the glory of God that's the most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe what you're hearing is just everyone's super convicted.
Yes.
I think that this. It's funny that you have me as your guest and you're talking about this, because I think this is this happens a lot with worship too. Like I think that you plan different things, and obviously your ultimate discernment comes from the Holy Spirit, whether you should stop doing something or push into something. But yeah, sometimes it's like you're up there and you're just like, wow, do people is this worth continuing in this moment, because it's like our people aren't really singing, or they don't really seem like, and it's not like worship is like a show where they're like, oh, are they enjoying it or not, but then also we can't totally rely on like our flesh for discernment, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like what I'm seeing and hearing, those are kind of like tools that support what God is telling me in the moment, versus like me completely relying on that. And so there's tons of times where you might get off stage and I might feel, this is just me being honest, like, I don't know, like, we probably just should have like cut that way short and done like one song and just said, hey, the Lord is good, faithful,
Yeah, or even like, oh, maybe I should have said this a different way. Maybe we should stop trying to crack so many jokes to get a response, just kept going,
But sometimes in those moments I get feedback where people are like, man, today was like very, like the Lord spoke to me. It was very beneficial, really glad I was here, kind of thing.
Yeah, and usually, like you said, if we're not getting the response we want, it's usually because our expectations, like I remember, and I've said this before, I'm like, oh, I thought this would really be a good joke. And it wasn't. Like there was the first service, I had this great joke where, the king goes to Nehemiah and says, why so glum, chum? And everyone's like, huh. And I was like, that we can cut that. But, and that's why it's so important to, come to every service just ready to go, locked and loaded. Even when you think, oh, no one's really listening. But, people really are listening. People are responding. You're not going to see the fruit until much, much later. And, Sometimes I get emails, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And that's always something to keep in mind.
Also, something I do is, and I know you didn't ask my opinion, but I'm totally going to give it right now.
Please.
When I feel a lack of response or maybe a little confusion on my end on how something landed, I actually ask people I trust.
Oh, yeah.
And so I will actually go to people whose opinions I trust. So AKA, I don't set myself up to be wounded by someone, right? Like someone who maybe is usually negative and like, hey, how did you feel this went? Oh, Clint, it was terrible. No, but someone I legitimately trust, like Nathan or several other pastors, and I'll say, hey, I did this kind of thing in the worship set. How do you feel like that worked? Or was that, me, following the Holy Spirit, or was that maybe something that like, hey, let's cut that for the next few services? And I feel like that's valuable, and I usually get valuable feedback, and I know the Lord uses them because a lot of times when I do follow their advice, I kind of get like some better results.
Yeah, Ben told me to cut the glum chum.
Yeah,
joke.
I think that was right on the money. He was following the Holy Spirit.
I was like, this is so good.
He was,
But yeah, that's all help. It's a team sport, and it's about, hey, how can we help point people to Jesus, whether people respond the way we want to or not. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and leave comments on the bottom. We'd love to know what your thoughts are. And looking forward to seeing you guys later. God bless.